Hi, good evening. Today's Hangout, this is the inaugural stream with the new desk. So, or, well, not the new desk, but the new desk location, I guess. And I finished the Transylvanians, and now I am getting right to work on the Tatars, which will be a pretty versatile army to have in my collection, as they can cover their own campaigns. They can fight Poland, they can fight Cossacks, they can be part of an Ottoman army, they can fight their own campaigns. All right, thanks, Charles. Yeah, man, groceries are so expensive. I went to Target today just to pick up a few things, and I spent $30, and all I got was like some burger patties, some paper towels, and like a pack of cheese, and then I needed like another lamp, so they had one for $10. But all that came to $30, over 30 bucks. So everything's getting more and more expensive these days. I also have more natural light at the new place, so I'm hoping that helps with the streams because and videos in general, because that was a significant challenge at the old place. Now I could probably move the desk at some point to face into the sun where the sunlight comes from, but that may be not a good idea because currently I have my back to the sun, which I think is better. I think that probably diffuses the light a bit. So, but we'll see. Um, yeah. All right. Get this guy started on the sample figures for these by fire and sword models. Um, uh, they show the Tatars in earth tones, but then like all of the depictions of the Tatars from like the 16th through the 18th century, they show them wearing brighter colors. So um, that's what I decided to do. But I'm going to do some earth tones. Like I think this guy has like a fur overcoat, so I did kind of a fur tone. Hi, Greedy Delver. Thanks for joining. Yeah, yeah. My old setup was pretty dark all the time, and this place has much better lighting. So I did try to get might and reason on the table, but I really don't have enough figures somehow. I tried one of the fan-made scenarios. it was a battle between the Persians and the Afghans, and even with breaking up my 15 millimeter units into the appropriate size for might and reason, I still didn't have enough troops. So gonna have to figure that out, how to do that. Plus, I think based on the comments I got on the video about might and reason, I think you just need like a lot more table space. Like one of the commenters said, 9 by 4, like a nine or a 9 by, yeah, like a 9 by 4 table, which is really a lot. Hmm. Sometimes I can't tell on these guys, like what if he has a long coat on, or yeah, it looks like he's got like an extra long robe. So that's how I'm gonna paint it. Oh, yeah, desert yellow. This is a good color for, uh, especially these kind of Islamic figures. I've noticed as they used it. So there's at least one image I saw of an Uzbek Bukharan warlord that has this kind of color on his kaftans. So I think some of the pictures of Crimean Tatars, it shows them with this kind of yellow color. So go ahead and use that. But while I was reading through that Might and Reason rulebook, it did make me want to expand my Safavids a bit more. Because in my real life research, I have done some stuff on Ottoman and Safavid conflicts. So there are some battles that I could probably put together. I did try, because I didn't have any paper towels, and then I went, before I got some, I did try last night doing a dry palette again, and it wasn't the worst thing in the world, but it does kind of change the consistency of the paint when it goes on the figure. So, um, yeah, I think I do like using the wet palette a bit more, and it does generally keep the paint uh, from drying out in the palette. So it's always a plus, especially because I tend to end up painting for like a really long periods of time. Okay. Also, another good advantage of the new places. I have uh, my internet is like my own network because before I was relying on the network my landlord provided in the building, and that I think caused problems with the connection a lot. So um, this one I think will be better. So, yeah, so a lot of mostly positive things actually. Nice change from normal for me, at least lately. Last few months have been kind of tough, but yeah, these things happen. I was looking at those plastic folding tables you can buy, um, and they had a big one at Walmart, but it's $80. And I don't want to pay that right now. But it's good to know that it's there because then I could like put it up to make a video and do a battle and then put it away. Um, put it away in the closet or, you know, wherever when I'm not using it. That would be good. Now, the only disadvantage to having mostly natural light is when the sun goes down, obviously. There's not as much light. I do have a couple lamps here, so maybe that should help. Now, for this project I've been doing, if I really wanted to represent the kind of scale of the Tatar forces, levy forces, I would need like tons and tons of Tatar figures, and currently I just can't, you know, buy all those and put them together. Maybe in the future. Sometimes the Tatar host was like just as large as the main Ottoman army or bigger. So they were uh, they were vassals of the Ottoman Empire, basically, at least until 1774 when the Russians conquered the Crimea, and and the Tatars became subjects of Russia, and then they were lived there until Stalin deported the Tatars to the east. I don't remember where they were settled, but then I think after the end of the Soviet Union, a lot of them went back, as far as I know, because there's Crimean Tatars, and then there are um, like other Tatars that also use that name in excuse me in like Asiatic Russia, that are that speak a different language, different Turkic. Wait, I gotta fact check myself because I think the other Tatars may not. They may speak a Tunguskic language, which is a different group. I gotta fact check myself on this kind of minutia. Come for the painting and the miniatures, and stay for the obscure linguistics. Oh yeah, okay, that's right. Because there's the Sibir Tatars that are in, or are they? That are in the Tumen Oblast, which is western Siberia, and then there are the Volga Tatars in Tatarstan, which is in the Volga district of modern Russia. Oh, Kazan, yeah, yeah. Um, okay, they do speak. It is a Turkic language, right? Yeah, Siberian Tatar, which is different from Crimean Tatar, but it is part of the Kipchak family of Turkish, which is, anyway, it's probably not that interesting to people, but this is the kind of stuff I work on and study. So I need to somehow find a way to brand the channel where it's like you watch me paint, but then I talk about linguistics. So I gotta maybe pivot to like the linguistics nerds or something. I don't know. Even though I'm more of a philologist, which is kind of an older method, which is out of style, different than modern linguistics. J.R.R. Tolkien was a philologist, so I mean, it's probably more, probably better. He's probably the best known philologist, even though most people associated him obviously with his uh, fantasy work, which I guess I'm the weirdo that I'm more lately more interested in Tolkien's actual academic stuff than the Lord of the Rings, because he was big. I guess he mostly did Anglo-Saxon language linguistics, philology. Yeah, that's a good idea, Charles. You know, the Hobby Lobby. At my near my old place, they didn't have a whole lot of Vallejo, but it could depend on the store, like how big of a selection they have, because they only had like two shelves of the model color, and then they did have more of the air model air paints, but I don't know if like those if you need to use those with an airbrush or if you can just use those with a regular paintbrush. So I would have checked out some of those, but I just wasn't sure and I didn't want to potentially waste my money. But Hobby Lobby is great because they have so much, especially the diorama section. They have so much like inexpensive, like terrain type stuff um, for like model railroad and dioramas. And I bought a pack of like these little trees from them, and they're like a perfect for 15 millimeter. All right, this guy painted up pretty fast actually. Do a little, maybe do a different color on the horse's hair just to. I did cut some corners with this unit because I just painted the horses all the same shade of brown instead of doing a bunch of different colors. So, um, because in the other units I tried to mix up the horse colors because I thought that would be more realistic, but now, in the interest of being efficient with the project, I'm just gonna paint. I think I'll just paint, uniform colors for the horses. All right, I think I got everything on this guy, so he's good to go. Pretty sure. Yeah. All right, get a little Agrax Earth Shade out. Oh, yeah, I think I can touch up a few spots here, even though probably won't even be visible from the table view, but it's good to try and get this stuff. Oh, I did forget to do the darker brown on the horse's mane. So do that real quick. do a little bit of do some um, earth shade on this spear just to give him give it more of a wood tone, I guess. I don't know if the Tatars are supposed to have like long lances, but for this unit, I just decided, okay, they'll have big lances, um, and then that way maybe I could just say they're like Tatar Kapakulu, like the palace troops or something. All right. Probably use these guys as other like Central Asian Turkic warriors too, like Bukhara or Balkh or something. All right, well, that's one stand done. Other than, well, aside from basing, but in terms of miniature, I mean, basing doesn't take that long. Yeah, looking decent so far. Don't want that super glue to, shouldn't have picked that up. It was a goof on my part. All right. Still a little annoyed that these fire and sword figures don't come with clear like instructions of like this is how the units are supposed to look. I guess it's fine, if you don't want to have like a prescribed, if you want to use these for other systems, but it would be nice just to have something more definitive because the box art is kind of grainy, but I've complained about that a lot. But now I think I'll do the middle command stand. Oh, that's interesting, Charles. See, I was thinking about getting one of those paint racks, but maybe they're not worth it based on what you say. Um, Hold on. Wait. See, are we short a figure? Oh, no, the other stand is just. No, no, no. Okay. Thought I messed up the count here for a minute. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I think if I'm pretty disciplined with painting, I should be able to get the whole Tatar set knocked out, and then I can do another army showcase soon. That would be nice. Tatar's set does have some neat, like other units. Like it's got a unit equipped with like lassos and stuff. I guess it's probably to represent like plundering Tatars. That is something I wanted to work into my Ottoman, like East, let's say just say Eastern themed games, is because captives were really important. A lot of times you'd actually want to fight for captives instead of killing your enemy because um, it's like especially like on these frontier zones, like a garrison soldier is probably not going to get paid consistently. But, think about it. You've got these garrisons that your empire that you fight for, either in reality or notionally, has to send like pay up there, which is really dangerous. Um, so you're not always going to get it, and you don't know when you'll get it a lot of the time. So you have to take captives. That was kind of one of the main sources of income for these guys. Uh, and then they would either be kind of slaves, like most people would think that happened, or you would, if you had a particularly valuable captive, you could ransom them to get ransom money, which is pretty terrifying. When you think about it, I mean, could be plucked up and held indefinitely for just for money, basically. Uh, there were Catholic priests and monks that would go around, especially in North Africa. They would go around and basically pay to get people out of slavery that had been taken, and you know, in the Barbary slave trade. Pretty interesting. There's a book about that called the Captive Sea. Merhaba Dade nasılsın? Şu an Tatarlara boyuyorum. Evet, İstanbul'da e, pardon, İstanbul'da e, oldum. E, Türkçem kötüdür. E, e, birinci e, Osmanlı Türkçesi e, öğrettim. Yeni Türkçe biraz sonra e, e, e, Osmanlı kelimeleri e, anlıyorum. Yeni Türkçe kelimeleri e, yaşar. Ve e, ve son zamanlarda e, praktik yok. Amerika'dayım. E, ve evet. Sadece Osmanlı Türkçesi okuyorum. E, e, belki gariptir. Ve Türk dili çok seviyorum. Bir çok güzel dil. Çünkü Osmanlı tarihi seviyorum. Ama e, bir hocam e, o Bos evet Bosna'dan geldi. E, e, hocamla öğrettim ve Osmanlı tarihi öğrettim. E, seviyorum. Teşekkürler arkadaş. Hangi e, bölümde or, öğren, öğreniyor musun? Did I say that right? It's been a while since I've had to speak sustained Turkish like this, but it's good practice. Oh, güzel. All right, so got most of this guy done. And oh, the water off. This is too much. Yeah, the Ottomans were, I mean, they created a pretty interesting civilization. It's hard to come up with one opinion, though, because there's so much that happens. There's so many changes. Um, the Safavids are kind of interesting, though, because they were, I think they just didn't have as much time as the Ottomans did to kind of centralize their state. Although under Shah Abbas, he made them into pretty strong empire there for a while. Um, And I mean, they did really challenge kind of the Ottoman claim to authority, even though they were Shi'i instead of Sunni, of course. Hello, Telemachus. I mean, my reading of the Safavids, based on someone like Rudy Mathey's book on the collapse of the Safavids, I mean, I think he makes a pretty good case that the Shahs never were able to kind of get the tribal power in Persia sort of under control or directed toward something that would be amenable to the empire. Like the Ottomans were kind of able to do that with their nomads. Um, but the Ottomans also had a lot more time. I mean, the Safavids come onto the scene in the early 16th century with Shah Ismail. Um, but, they just don't quite have the same amount of time to build up as the Ottomans did. Um, and then they kind of collapse for pretty unforeseeable reasons, I think. Uh, like the invasion of Nader Shah. I was just reading about that uh, before I started doing the stream. Um, he was an interesting guy, Nader Shah. There's a good book out there about him. I want to read up on him. The Afghan Afsharid Iran after the Safavids. For my miniatures, though, I do want to expand my Safavid army because the Khorasan miniatures range is really nice. They have a lot of that's the only Safavid miniatures out there, actually, but really cool range. Um, Plus, you can use quite a few of them, I think you can use as Ottomans if you want to use them as like Anatolian troops. Although I think to really build a cool Safavid army for a war game or just to paint the miniatures, get the Khorasan Safavids um, plus the Circassian range to do Georgians and other kind of Caucasian peoples because they fought for the Safavids, and then you can also use those for Ottomans because the Ottomans also had um, periods where they were in control in the Caucasus and had Circassian levies and stuff. Safavids are also interesting because they, unlike like most places in Eurasia in the 17th century, just undergo like a really huge crisis, but for a variety of reasons. Um, but Iran or Persia pretty survives pretty well. In fact, I mean that's kind of the heyday of Safavid Persia. You get a lot of Western merchants go there. Um, you also get, interestingly enough, you get Carmelite Catholic monks that go there as missionaries, um, and that's actually one of the best kind of non-Persian sources on this on later Safavid Persia is or Iran, whatever however you like, but is the Chronicle of the Carmelites in Persia. Really interesting. There's also this text I've looked at, which is a translation into Ottoman of a Polish Catholic missionary's report about the collapse of Safavid Iran in the 1720s, which is really neat. Tried to translate some of it, but I did it more because the university I was at had a physical copy of the one of the an early printed Ottoman printed book by Mutafarika. The kind of set up the not the first Ottoman Turkish print house, or I think it was the first approved one by the state, actually in the early 18th century. Okay, gonna get my power bank here for my phone. Yeah, you are very welcome, Vedante. Hmm. Yeah, short break in the action because I need to find the cord to my phone to plug it in to the power bank. Back in 2 minutes, hopefully. Hangi üniversitesi öğreniyor musun? Boğaziçi? Marmara. Çok güzel. All right, I think I got another guy done. Gotta do his mustache, very important. Yes, I think. Oh, hi, Meandering Mike. Thanks for joining. I'm painting Crimean Tatars. Yeah, these guys are for the 16th or 17th century, but based on some of the depictions, I could probably use them for the 18th century as well. I think though for the 18th century, I would probably want to get more with firearms. I think I need to learn I'd probably need to look at the Russian publications actually because they're a lot better about Russian scholars and kind of even the popular books are a lot better about the looking at like the Siberian peoples and the Tatars for obvious reasons for the history of imperial, the Russian conquest in that region. But they will be the auxiliaries for my this game I'm playing, developing, hopefully for a convention. But they'll be the Tatar contingent for the Ottoman army. Oh yeah, Russian is well, you missed. We have a Redade who joined us from Turkey, so I was speaking a little bit of Turkish to him. My bad Turkish, but the I don't know. Yeah, they are. Yeah, I was actually talking about that before you joined the stream. I was about yeah, the Kipchak dialect, or I guess branch of the Turkic languages. It's pretty widely spoken in like in what's today Ukraine. It was like a kind of a common language, and they would write it Kipchak, and they could write it in like Arabic script or Armenian script, which is really interesting. Um, yeah, I would like to try and learn that, but I don't think there are any. There are not many scholars, as far as I know, that publish on it. At least not in English. I'm sure there's. I know there's. Pretty sure there's a Kipchak dictionary, Kipchak to like modern Turkish dictionary that exists. Um, I did get a chance to study Chagatai, which is the Central Asian, like kind of classical Turkish language, which that's pretty interesting. That's pretty close to, or I guess modern Uzbek is kind of descended from that. Um, and I had to get this dictionary. I had to order this dictionary reprint to read it. Let's see if we can show. Let me see if this will show up on camera. Uh, Zoom out. See if this will fit on the camera without me destroying everything. But yeah, this is a reprint of a French dictionary for Eastern Turkic or Turkish, also called Chagatai. Obviously, it's into French, so uh, pretty cool though. This is a reprint from a shop that does it in India, which I never ordered from before. They're on 8 books, and I was pretty uh, skeptical, but they did a pretty cool job, a pretty good job reprinting it. So I'm kind of happy with how it turned out. It's nice and sturdy. Yeah, meandering Mike. I have to think because I don't. I think we're the Kipchaks actually their own because Kipchak the way is like used as a language classification. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, that was the Kuman Kipchaks. Okay, now I'm remembering. Yeah, because they were confederated with the Kumans. Um, Hi, GB models. Yeah, Chagatai to because when I've been reading Ottoman for several years, but when I studied Chagatai, it was pretty challenging. I have to say, I had to get used to it. It was the grammar's a little different. I think Kipchak though was closer to Ottoman compared to Chagatai. Yeah, the Kumans in Hungary, their language persisted for quite a long time because there's at least one Ottoman traveler in the late 17th century. He's pretty famous in even in modern Turkey, Evliya Çelebi. He writes about meeting people that still speak the Cuman language, which was Turkic. But there's not much that survives in terms of its like written. There's the Codex Cumanicus, which was compiled by some monks. Well, meandering Mike, you came to the right place. That's that's a lot of what I talk about here, especially on these streams, because I get off on different, these little tangents about that stuff. Um, yeah, some of the history, especially the further you go back, it's really hard to study just because you don't have like written records or um, if it's like pretty early back, like a lot of what we have is Chinese, and the problem is that Chinese characters don't like record a sound, so it's hard to figure out like what when they transliterate names or certain terms, what they're talking about actually. Um, but there's more good books about it now. So I mean, the classic is Empire of the Steppe by René Grousset. Um, but that's been, there's been other books since then. Um, but that's kind of been a classic of kind of the history of Interasia. And then the other name to look for is Dennis Shinor, which in English is Sinor. Um, who was a really big Central Asia scholar. Um, died, passed away, I think 10 or I can't remember, but he was a really big name. Yeah, yeah, Shinor. Um, he was quite a character in real life. I've been told by some people I know that knew him when he was alive. Uh, Liked to party apparently, but it was but in a good way, like in a kind of a positive way, not like in an uncontrolled way. He liked to have a good time, and he was a member of I think he was in the French underground uh, in World War II apparently, and his house when he was alive had a lot of stuff he had appropriated during the war, which I'm sure a lot of people did that, but it's just still kind of funny. Oh, thanks, GB models. Yeah, these are 15 millimeter figures, so um, which it looks hard, but I think they actually, if you're in a situation like me where you need to do like a lot of figures, and you don't have a lot of room, and, like to store them. I think it's a good scale for, if you want to get a lot of painting, because these paint up a lot faster than 28 mil. Oh, that's really interesting, Meandering Mike. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was pretty contentious because the when they did settle in the Carpathian Basin, I mean, apparently the nobility didn't quite want to convert. They wanted to stick with the steppe traditions, and then they killed Gellert, the monk that was like kind of being a missionary to the Magyars at that time. That's why in Budapest there's the Gellert Hill, because apparently they put him in a barrel that was filled with spikes or nails, and they rolled him down the hill. Basically, he died a martyr. Pretty grisly. I'll have to look up Osman Karate Redade. Um, I'm not familiar with him. Oh, okay. He's published a lot. Oh, he does have a book in English recently, The Genesis of the Turks, an ethno-linguistic inquiry into the prehistory of Central Asia, Central Eurasia. That looks interesting. Oh, and he's translated some of Peter Golden's works. Yeah, Meandering Mike, that's another name to look for. Peter B. Golden. He's done a lot on kind of long range or long term Central Asian history. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, he teaches, or he retired from Rutgers, and he wrote. Oh, I read. I gotta look him up because he wrote. I've read a couple of his books. Um, yeah, okay, this is the one I've read. I think an introduction to the history of the Turkic peoples. You may have to find that one online on like Library Genesis. It's a good site to get books for free. Um, Oh yeah, Central Asia and World History. That's the like survey book he wrote. That's pretty good too. Um, should probably buy that at some point. That's a good book. Trying to think. Another one that's not quite about. Well, it's good in general. It's called Eurasian Crossroads. It's about like Xinjiang or East Turkestan, where the Uyghurs are from. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, you want to find if you can find it, go on. It's called LibGen, Libgen, and it is like getting the books for free in PDF, which I know not everybody likes to do. But um, the thing I like to tell people on this channel a lot is like most academic books, the authors don't get any money from them anyway. They would rather just people read them than. So, but obviously, not everybody likes reading digitally or is comfortable doing that. So I get it. I'm trying to think what else I've got on my shelf that comes to mind. That's just kind of like general Central Asian history. There is Christopher Beckwith, uh, who I had the chance to study with. Very interesting guy, but his book Empires of the Silk Road has a um, it's got some interesting ideas in it. We'll put it that way. But it's a good read. I mean, it's worth reading, but just not like you got to kind of you're going for kind of a fun ride, but don't like believe everything kind of thing, if that makes sense. Um, what else? You could also read The Venture of Islam, but the second volume. That's a three-volume set because that deals a lot with the kind of the emergence of the Turks in the Islamic world and like and the Mongols because it kind of blends together eventually some ways. Um, and then that's pretty good. That's kind of a good overview of Islamic history. Yeah, exactly. Take a grain of salt, but yeah, I mean he's a really knowledgeable scholar, Beckwith. Yeah, it's actually, you know what? I can put some of these in the chat, and then that'll probably be easier. Uh, um, what else? I'm actually looking at my shelves now. I just moved to a new place. I don't have all my books unpacked. Oh yeah, and then there's a UNESCO history, published by UNESCO of all things, the UN like cultural group organization, I guess, that they did a history of Central Asia, but those can be hard to find. They're pretty expensive. Um, yeah, that's all that comes to mind at the moment, but I'll probably think of more as I go along. Oh yeah, meandering Mike. Another name to look for is I'll put him in the chat. Yuri Bregel, very important scholar, he was extremely knowledgeable. Um, oh, that's not good, Charles. Well, so far here, my assistant, the cat, has decided not to strike while I've been painting. So, although that may change later. Yeah, Yuri Bregel published an atlas, a historical atlas of Central Asia, which is extremely useful. Um, oh, and another book that's good for understanding Central Asia, like more in the kind of early modern period, is one of my favorite books, the Baburname, which is the autobiography of Babur, the conqueror of North India. But most of the narrative is actually takes place in Inner Asia. I don't thin my paints with a little bit of water. I mean, not really. I mean, I dip the brush in water, and then I use, and I've got a wet palette, so that kind of thins it out a bit. But it also, these paints have been sitting here for a while, so they probably need, I need, probably need to freshen them up. Oh yeah, yeah. Gift from my cat. Yeah, he likes to. He leaves a lot of fur, but that's okay. He's a great cat. Yeah, it is pretty amazing. And I just do this with my iPhone, and the camera is pretty good. So the main the main challenge is always the lighting. Because this desk actually should have like this kind of overhang with a fluorescent light built in, but I haven't set that up yet. I gotta still kind of haven't fully finished my moving process, so there's still some things left at the old place I gotta go pick up and do all that stuff. But I'll get that done in time, probably this week coming up. Oh yeah, another book to check out that's is also by that scholar Beckwith I mentioned is the Tibetan Empire in yeah, just look up on Amazon the Tibetan Empire by Beckwith because he wrote the only book about that in English as far as I know. Very interesting, deals with Central Asia. Um, I actually made a video about the old Tibetan annals that part of that book was one of the sources he used. It's pretty interesting. They fought the Chinese, and then they had diplomatic relations. And I think they did fight with the Gokturk Khanate, I believe it was. This would have been the 7th century, I think. Sometimes this is bad of me as a historian, but I sometimes forget dates a lot, which is not something I'm very proud of, but it happens. I'll put that in the chat. Oh, need to looking for a color here. It's leather brown. I'm looking for saddle brown. Where did I put that? There it is. Sitting right there. Yeah, be careful. Some of those books are pretty expensive. Um, Although unfortunately, the used sellers like Abe Books have been like I guess they've gotten wise to the game, and now they charge like a lot of money. Like, I was looking for a this Manchu language dictionary, Manchu to English dictionary, and that was pretty pricey. I mean, not that pricey compared to some other kind of specialized dictionaries, but it was like $40, $50. Uh, so don't really want to pay that right now. I can't afford that right now, but yeah, I mean, in Inter-Asian history, it's like pretty exciting. I mean, because there's so much stuff that's still hasn't been discovered, or a lot of cases like the sources like are sitting there, but nobody's just ever looked at them. It's also true of a lot of Ottoman history, actually. Um, yeah, you can get that one on LibGen. As a PDF. Again, it's a PDF, so I know a lot of people don't like reading that, but it's if it's anything that's published by the company Brill, it's extremely expensive. Yeah, Telemachus, exactly. They're meant for library sales. Or if you are in the kind of academic world like I am, the cheat code is you ask to write a book review for a journal, and they send you the book for free, um, which you shouldn't which you shouldn't abuse. That's obviously not good, but they can do it. Uh, Although now the publishers tend to cheap out and just send you the ebook copy anyway. Especially some of the publishers are like a lot more outrageous than others. I mean, like Cambridge University Press, all things considered, for example, their books are priced pretty reasonably, and I would also say Princeton University Press is also prices their books pretty reasonably. Like a normal reader could pick them up, and they've been publishing a lot of good stuff. Like for history, the last several years because they published this major survey of Ottoman military history, The Last Muslim Conquest, great book uh, by a really good historian. And then they published this really good Maria Theresa biography I read, and yeah, a few others lately, but all pretty good books. Oh yeah, and then they published this other one about the Silk Roads. That's really cool. Uh, yeah, this is about yeah, the King's Road. And it's kind of more, it's not like a political history, but it's about how kind of diplomacy worked on the Silk Roads in the, what period does this cover? Yeah, 850 to 1000 AD. So, and this book uses some interesting stuff. It's by a Chinese scholar, um, and he uses these Khotanese sources, which is like an ancient, I think it's Iranian language, so it's related to kind of Persian. Pretty cool. Yeah, it's on because that's a really good point, and I try to bring that up on here too. Is use interlibrary loan. That can be really helpful. Um, and another thing, if you live near a like reasonably sized university, public, especially if it's like a public university in the U.S., you can try to see if they have some kind of like borrow. You can sign up for a borrower's card even if you're not a like a member of the university. You may be limited like in what you can check out, but it's still a good thing to look into. Because even if you can just use the collection, again, if it's like a public state university, I mean, they're not gonna ask you to like show your ID at the door. You can just go to the library on the weekend and look at the read the books in the stacks, and nobody's gonna bother you. Just looking to see if I had anything else that might be Central Asia related. A lot of this stuff is in journals, like academic journals, which are can be hard. You have to look on JSTOR, which has a awful search engine. But they did open up. I think during COVID they opened it up so you can get a JSTOR account and you can look at like I think up to 100 articles free per month, maybe, or maybe I can't remember. Oh yeah, meandering Mike. Yeah, those are all pretty good. The studies on Central Asia is I bought that recently actually. I found it in a used bookstore, but it's kind of like mostly short articles, but there's some good stuff in there. So it's not all. I think it might be worth it for you. Te Magyar vagy meandering Mike. Oh, sorry, it was just Hungarian. I just asked if you were Hungarian, like ancestry or something, or just interested. All right, got that guy's chainmail coif done. Coif, I guess. Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it is a really neat language, and I don't think it's as hard as people think it is. Actually, that's my hot take on that. It's not as you just have to get used to the agglutinative structure, uh, which is different from most Indo-European languages, but it's not as hard as people claim. Although it's not easy either, I would say. All right, I don't know what. I don't know if I want to do this guy in scarlet. I think I'll pick a different color. Maybe can't really. Oh yeah, I think it'll show up on camera. But his coat has like trim, so I think I'll do that in red, and then I'll do a different color on the main coat. Green. Do like a dark green. That might look good. Yeah, this would be a neat color. Oh yeah, another book that's kind of related to Interasia is the book on the Avars by I think it's a German scholar. His name is Walter Pohl, Pohl. He wrote a book on the Avars, who were a steppe confederation that moved into the Carpathian Basin, and then they established like an empire kind of or kingdom in kind of the same region of traditional Hungary, and then Charlemagne basically defeated them all and pushed them out of the region. That's another one I got to reread. Some of these books are just they have a lot in them, and you really got to reread them. These history books. It's not like you know. I mean, I still even have to tell myself that. Hmm. No, I haven't. I haven't played that before. Meandering Mike. That sounds interesting. Yeah, you could definitely do that with the Hungarians. I mean, there's so much to do in the game. And there's so much. Yeah, it crosses over with so many different other. They cross over with so many different other cultures and have relationships. Yes, Meandering Mike. That's correct. It's pretty lengthy. It's a pretty nice tome too, which is good. I mean, I like that, but some people don't. I'm if a book is like a history book, it's like a 600 page or a 400 page tome. I'm like, let's go, let's do this. Some people don't like that. Uh, Coruscant also makes Avar miniatures, which would be neat to do like Charlemagne versus the Avars. Um, yeah, I know that feeling. I've got a lot of stuff in my wish list or save for later right now. Although the kick I was on a few like last month was about the Russian conquest of Siberia and kind of the early modern. Well, it was Muscovy then, but early modern Russia. You know, modern Russian history. I mean, I get why people like it, but the early modern stuff is more interesting to me, just because it's nobody in the kind of Western world seems to talk about it much. Yeah, I forget who published Avars. I think it might be a more expensive press. Let me see. Oh yeah, it's a Cornell book. I actually don't know that much about them. Kind of surprised they published this, but anyway, that kind of gets into some into the weeds and who publishes what and why. Well, I'm glad you decided to come join Meandering Mike, because I always like talking about this step history stuff and the languages, and it's always fun. Yeah, be careful, Meandering Mike. You don't want to go over budget. Yeah, yeah. I don't do these like I don't have a schedule for these just because it's like hard for me to plan um like okay, I'm gonna stream every week at this time just because it like my well, I was working like a real job for a while, so that kind of put a limit on things. And then, when I do my real like what I see my as my real work, my academic stuff, it's hard to plan because it's like sometimes I just need to sit down and like work on something to meet a deadline, and sometimes it's kind of spontaneous. Because sometimes, I mean, it's hard to just like when you're writing, especially by the time you get to the writing phase, it's hard to just say like, or at least for me, it's like hard to be like, okay, at this hour, I'm going to write for this amount of time, because sometimes I'm just not feeling it, which but it's kind of a different thing if I have like a real like a deadline, the next day or something. All right, I think I did all the flesh tones. Some of the like the Crimean Tatars, it's hard to find like a book like that covers the whole sweep of history because a lot of the books were written like during the Cold War and they were more interested in like the more modern history which is fine. But if you want to go back further, it's kind of harder to find stuff about that. Um, yeah, although there is a pretty good scholar on the Crimean Tatars in Poland, Natalia Kolakowska-Jedlinska. I read her work, which is pretty cool. She's done a lot of stuff about the Tatars. Not sure if this is like meant to be a helmet or if it's like a hat with a male kind of like neck protector. I'll just paint it this black gray, and that'll be all right. Yeah, that's yeah. I don't know too much about that meandering mic actually. It's one of those. Some of that stuff. It's like when I read about it, the scholars say, we don't really know the sources that well, um, or not that they don't know the sources that well. It's, what I should say is, that there's not that many sources. It's always challenging in history. And then you have certain modern contemporary historians, the bad kind, that say all sources are fictional and we just can't trust them. We just can't really know anything. So we just need to do continental philosophy instead. And and it's anyway. I don't want to get into all that, but that is a problem. It's easier to do that stuff than it is to read difficult, dead languages and try to figure out what was happening. But there's a book, History of Ukraine Rus, that I think covers the early period, but I haven't looked at the volume, the earlier volumes. I've only looked at the Cossack period ones for my own work and like making videos for this channel actually. But I think that might get into that. I forget the author, but it's published by University of Toronto Press, History of Ukraine Rus. Um, it's like a multiple volume series. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then you have other issues where like some of them didn't use like their own language for government documents. Like I was reading just today, actually, I think it was either the Gokturk or the Uyghur Khanate, like in the late antique period, that they used a different, like a completely different script and language. They used Sogdian, I think. One of them used Sogdian as their administrative language, which is better than having no written records, obviously, but it does change the way people, the way things are kind of portrayed or what can be expressed with the language. Um, because reading about this issue, been reading about this issue with the way historians of China neglected for the Qing dynasty, that neglected the Manchu language sources. And it was just thought that like, okay, the Manchu, was just all translations from Chinese, which wasn't really the case, apparently. It's probably true for a lot of things, actually, because language does affect the way you think about things, the way what can be expressed, which you can't say necessarily. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, eventually they do adopt like the Perso-Arabic script um, for their languages, or like you get or they just use Persian wholesale because um, the Persian administration is like kind of a continuous tradition. It goes back like this is like even pre-Islamic period to all the way back to like the Achaemenids. So this is kind of the reputation that they build. Um, and yeah, you get like the Seljuks, for example. They use Persian administratively for most of their stuff, and all of the basically all of the dynasties that conquer Iran, even if they're Mongol or Turkic, they end up using Persian. So yeah, it's a pretty extensive tradition. And then in some cases, you get this kind of like ethno caste division where the Tajik is like the Persian city dweller in that part of the world. They're the kind of administrators, and then the Turk is the warrior class. All right, Charles. Thanks for hanging out, and hope you have a good evening. Yeah, the pre-Islamic Turkic religion uh, is pretty obscure, I think. Um, no, Charles, it's just I just read a lot of books. That's it. It's not that I'm really that much smarter. It's just I just read too many books. Uh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is pretty esoteric like uh stuff. I mean, one time I was in a restaurant with myself, a friend of mine, another grad student friend of mine, and then this another guy I know who has since become a friend, who's a really good Turkish linguistics guy. And I don't know, I almost felt bad for the staff just because of the the conversation was probably like really insufferable. I mean, I thought it was interesting, but to an outsider, I could see why they would think that. Although I think YouTube has kind of made some of this stuff more, a little more mainstream, some of the Central Asian things. Although I find, all right, meandering Mike. Thanks for hanging out. Um, I'm probably gonna just finish up this guy and then close it down. Yeah, well, thanks for hanging out, meandering Mike. I hope you can come on again whenever I do another one of these. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to get maybe, well, no, maybe I'll try on stream. I'll probably try to, maybe I can finish up this stand and then wrap it up for the evening and then for the stream and then just do the basing uh, uh, off stream. I don't know what I want to base these guys up with though. I think I may do plain grass or I may just do my sand and static grass mix that I've got in here because I think this is a little bit better to do to represent like kind of maybe like arid steppe ground or something. Well, I thought these Tatars would be a little more time consuming to paint just because some of the details are a little more, yeah, are a little more complicated than some of the other figures, but actually they paint up pretty quickly. So probably helps that they're 15s instead of 28s. If I was doing this project in 28 millimeter, probably wouldn't, I'd probably have way fewer figures done. And also because in terms of like cost, I was pricing up some 28 millimeter Sasanians, and that was really expensive. Just for like one unit of cavalry. Uh, so if I ever get around to doing them, it's probably going to be in 15 instead of 28. Uh, Plus, like I've said in previous videos, I think 15 is a better scale for big cavalry armies, just because you can get more stuff on the table, and it gives an idea of the size of the force better. Uh, all right, I think I got all this guy's spot. I think I got them all covered. Oh, got to do the arrows and stuff. All right, now I think I have everything. Yeah, I think I'll do a few more minutes to see if I can try and get the standard bearer done, and then wrap up the stream for the evening. All right, let's get the shading done. All right, I guess he'll be the unit leader with the sword. Okay, I will take a quick break and come right back, and then I'll get started on the. Probably will be the last guy of the evening. So we've gone about 2 hours now, so probably be I think 2 hours. Sometimes I go for three though, three and a half hours. Which anyway, yeah. Be right back. All right. So, hmm, so on the video, it looks like there's more light than there really is in real life. Been doing these guys shields in the scarlet red, the shields and the like their saddle blankets because that helps when I to store them, so I can pick out what unit goes with what or what figures go together more easily. Color on to make this guy's got a big long coat. I think I will do him in that same green because that looks pretty good. Dark green looks pretty good in the Tatars. Hmm. I don't actually know what color the pole to the standard should be, but I guess I'll just do it the color. The color I do is the unit color, do it in red, and then just do black, like black horsehair tail for the this bit here. Hmm. The camera's having a little trouble focusing, probably because of my movements for the light. Welcome to Corvinus Wargaming's live stream. Take a drink every time the host mentions lighting. Just kidding. I don't condone drinking games. I think they're pretty silly. All right, there we go. And I think I'll give him like a brown cap. Another brown, khaki. Earth, yeah, flat earth. That's a good tone for a leather kind of cap like that. Sometimes painting these Renaissance figures is a little, it can be challenging just because there's so many things to paint. But I just don't think I could go back to doing like World War II anytime soon because um, I don't know, it's just different. Like when you finish and it's like their army is just all uniform, the same color, mostly browns and greens. But when I finish these armies, even though it can be kind of test my patience, once I get it done and I look at it and have it on the table, I think, wow, that's actually did a lot. Even if my painting's okay. But I get the armies done. I think that's the important thing, or try to at least. That's that's one thing. I think if I have any kind of painting message on the channel, it's just paint the army, not the miniature. You want to get the army done. If you're serious, if you're doing miniatures for board games, paint the army. don't get bogged down in making sure every single figure is perfect, and just because it's better, I think, to paint for the army, and that way you can get an army done instead of having a bunch of random stuff unpainted, projects half done. I mean, look, I've got those too, but trying to trying to turn it around. Yeah, I was doing that more Telemachus when I was still doing like Warhammer and like Flames of War, and and then I had like Bolt Action at the same time. And I guess two of those are World War II games, but still. Um, but now I've kind of pared down. I mean, if I do anything modern, I think I would like to do maybe some World War One armies, like maybe some like Eastern Front stuff, like Ottomans, of course, but like East Front Germans, Austria-Hungary, and Russia. I think that would be fun doing in 15 millimeter. Plus, gaming wise, I think those matchups could be a little more dynamic than doing like trying to game out like Western Front trench stuff. A couple months ago, I did look at Peter Pig's World War One ranges, and their Austrians looked pretty good. Um, I think I've talked about this on another video. They or another stream. They do have early Red Army and Polish forces for doing the Polish-Soviet War, which that would be pretty cool. Uh, I would also do that as a convention game, partially because not many people know about that conflict, outside of kind of Poland and that region, I think. And probably it's also because we're finally kind of getting to the point where fewer people remember the Soviet Union as it was. And I mean, that's just inevitable with any historical event or period. But um, yeah, hoping I can meet up with some historic gamers where I'm at now. That would be nice. There's a lot of these periods I would like to do, but I feel like it would be easier if I had a more consistent historic club or people, where I could say, or we could plan out a project to say, okay, I'll bring this part, in 3 or 4 months or whatever, whatever the time frame is, or people have this stuff already painted, they can just say, okay, I'll show up with this unit or this brigade, and then, you can have that, and then we can run this scenario with it, um, refight, do this historic battle. Guess I could paint a little bit faster. I tend to use the brush kind of slowly. Doing my those Oathmark elves, I still have to finish the swordsman. Maybe if I need a little palette cleanser with this project, because those paint up really fast. I was kind of surprised, like how quickly I could get those guys. Excuse me, how quickly I could get those elves knocked out. But I think it helped that those Oathmark figures, they've got enough detail on them, and they're nicely detailed and sculpted, but it's not so much that it's like overwhelming. Kind of reminds me of the old Games Workshop sculpting style that was a little more um, practical to paint, that compared to their stuff now, which is pretty crazy in terms of the level of detail. And yeah, I noticed so lately with the hobby, it's kind of more important to me is like, when I sit down to paint, do I feel like I can make, um, in the evening, like, if I feel like I can sit down and paint and get like a few figures done potentially, I feel like, okay, I'm like kind of in control of this project. I can paint these guys up in a reasonable amount of time if I stick with it. But like the Age of Sigmar figures from Games of Workshop, which a lot of them I like actually. They're that's kind of unpopular to say in certain areas of wargaming YouTube, but I think a lot of them look really nice. They're nice sculpts. Um, with some of the armies, they've done a good job kind of giving them better identity, but it's just they pack so many details onto them. They're nice to look at in the online catalog, but with the studio paint job, but you sit down to actually do it, and it's really frustrating, especially for just like basic troop types. Like those aren't the ones you want to have all the very fine details. You want something that's kind of more manageable. Um, yeah, probably why if I ever do Napoleonics, I think I'll do like 15 millimeter, just because I know I can manage that level of detail on those uniforms better than I could do with 28s. Although more power to the people that can do 28 millimeter big Napoleonic armies. Although one of the guys in my club has like a big 28 millimeter Napoleonic army. I think he actually like bought or inherited it from another member who passed away. But the way it was painted was like I don't want to call it bad because it wasn't like bad. Like when the army was assembled, you can see pictures of it in the review I did of General to Army too. So like when it's all on the table, it looks really nice. It looks, like a big, nice, impressive armies, the French and Austrian. But the individual figures, the painting is pretty basic and simple. Not a lot of detail on them. Um, so I guess that's one way to go about it. Then is to just doing 28 millimeter, especially Napoleonics or anything kind of like that, just to make shortcuts basically, just because to get everything done, which fair enough. But I don't know if I'd like to paint that way. Rather just do 15s, and then that way I can fill in details, make them look good to what how I want them to look, but not have to worry about the individual figures just looking like kind of crappy. I wonder though if it makes me wonder though, because I kind of get the sense that like the kind of more old school war gamers, tabletop war gamers, did not fixate so much on painting quality. Okay, I think I got everything on this guy. Oh, nope. Do his sword. Yeah, that makes sense, Telemachus. I mean, I guess those big conventions make sense. You'd have a lot of different samples, so kind of a range of paint jobs. All right, a little earth shade on this. I mean, for me, I'd rather see people at least try to paint or do like a quick paint job and have everything painted, have all armies painted, than um, a sea of gray or plat or gray or unpainted gray unpainted miniatures constantly. It was one thing that used to really bug me about uh, playing Warhammer in a store community a few years ago. Was just week in and week out. I mean, the same guys just never would paint their armies. It's like, why am I going to sit here and do all this effort uh, to uh, to paint if people aren't even going to at least try to get their army finished? I mean, I'm not the kind of person that has to be like every figure has to be completely perfect, but at least get the army done. I mean, even if it's just three coats of paint, it's better than zero. Or three colors, I should say. Three colors of paint per figure. It's better than zero. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I mean, but yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying. Like if you're gonna do like a big army, just have it painted, even if it's not painted like super high quality. I mean, it's gonna look good. It'll probably still look pretty good, all ranked up and on the table. And I mean, you don't and really end up looking at individual figures when you're playing anyway. Um, all right, so got the commander base done, and then got one unit of lances, and then got another unit of lances. Yeah, Basement 1908 makes nice videos. I mean, he's got that massive table, which is really cool to look at. All right, that's good. And let me see if this is always the challenge, is making sure they'll rank up in line in a row. Uh, yeah, close enough, I guess. Or I can just, yeah, like that. All right. I think I'll just block in horse colors and then slowly wrap it up. Just prefer to, when I end these sessions, I prefer to at least start blocking in colors on the next figure, and then that way I know right where to pick up next time I sit down to paint. Yeah, that's true. Out of on Ketteringham, he is a really good painter, though. I mean, his Renaissance stuff he's been posting last several months. I mean, that's been really top notch. Can I just finish this guy up? He doesn't really have a lot of colors that he needs, actually. Maybe, we'll see. I'll just at least do the subtle stuff. Side. It's been I've been at this a while, and it's getting dark here. Maybe I need to do a live stream, right? Get a bunch of candles, and I paint by candlelight. I'll call it like the Barry Lyndon stream or something. You know, need to get the special cameras Stanley Kubrick used to film that movie, or the special lenses that will allow that much light into or will capture all that natural light. But if if I do that, if it's a Barry Lyndon painting stream, I'd probably have to paint like 7 Years' War. Yeah, glow in the dark paint. There we go. I'd have to get some period attire, or at least just enough to show on my like sleeves, I guess, and paint 7 Years' War figures in honor of Barry. Well, how many figures did I do on stream? I did three, well, four. Yeah, so pretty good. Pretty good progress while I go on about uh, obscure Turkic history stuff. Maybe I need to watch Barry Lyndon again, but I got to be careful because then I'll like really want to do my 7 Years' War project idea. You know, can't can't be spending that kind of money right now. It'll be a perfect storm. I made a video about the might and reason rules and the Kriegskunst rules recently. Then I'll watch Barry Lyndon, and then it'll be, you know, $200 later after on Old Glory miniatures. I've ordered myself a Austrian army for 7 Years' War. Isn't that how it goes? So kind of the life of the life of the war gamer. Uh, I did actually write to a guy I know. I was trying to ask him if there was this biography of Frederick the Great that I found on Amazon was any good, and then he'll answer me, and then it'll be all over from there. With as I've said before, I kind of don't really like Frederick as a person very much. Although obviously he was a really effective military leader. I mean, that's kind of can't really question that. But as a person, I don't really like him. Uh, Prefer Maria Theresa, but she was kind of ugly to her family, to her children. Like her behavior was very, even for a queen, I think, on the biography I read of her, it was bit much. Um, Overly controlling. Uh, yeah. Which again, I mean, maybe you can't judge because okay, she's a monarch, whatever. It's the royal family, but still, seemed pretty counterintuitive because no matter how much she tried to control her children, still eventually kind of just didn't really want to listen to her later in life, which is somewhat depressing to read about. Let me adjust the camera a bit here. Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and just finish this guy up and then get done for the evening. Oh, it's perfect. I did start earlier too, so it's not like midnight, and I can maybe I can even get to bed earlier, or at least read a bit and go to sleep. 7 p.m. seems like a good kind of time for these, or even 6, but that's not always doable. Earlier in the evening, and then probably also better for people because then you don't have to like stay up all night watching the show or whatever, or listening to it, whatever the case may be. Hmm. Or maybe if I feel really crazy, I'll do like a 24-hour paint show, paint hangout stream. No, that would be really excessive. I wonder if YouTube would kick you off after a while. Like, I wonder if they have like a limit on like how long the stream can run. In some ways, like I would kind of hope they would, just to prevent people from doing stupid stuff, stupid stunts like that to the detriment of their health. But, yeah, can make it like one of these influencer channels. I can make a thumbnail where I'm making a stupid face, and 24 hour can I paint all of this Tatar horde in 24 hours. Yeah, yeah. I mean, probably my own constitution would prevent me from even going like trying to think like realistically, probably do one of these for like 5 hours if I was like really rested and I had like a lot to do and I also had like a lot of topics that I could bring up to talk about, but um yeah, I mean I don't think I could go even 12 hours really. Um, Eventually, I just get tired because it is. I mean, even though this isn't quite public speaking, it is sort of, and it does get tiring. Like public speaking is tiring after a certain point. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. 2 day filibuster. Yeah, that's way too much. Um, all right. Well, I guess I'll get this guy all done for the evening and then call it a night. Famous last words. Just one more. Just just paint just one more. I mean, the good thing is I don't really. I'm not like I don't have like work to be at tomorrow. Other than I mean, other than I kind of want to get my day started at a reasonable time so I can do my research stuff that I need to do. But um, yeah, working an hourly job again reminded me that I don't particularly enjoy that kind of stuff. And the main issue was just that they would not give me any kind of consistent schedule. I mean, I didn't really mind the kind of the hours that they initially had me at, but it was just the couldn't plan anything. That's good, Telemachus. And then that job also they cut my hours way back, and that was really shitty. I mean, I only the thing that saved me in the end was like my manager had to go on vacation, and they had to adjust people's hours to cut the slack. But that's the problem with these jobs. And I've worked like that before. Is the management just does not want to work with you, and they're always playing games with the hours that they give you. So really frustrating. I mean, a half day on Friday, that must be pretty good. All right, did I get everything? Okay, gotta do his mustache. That's pretty simple. And then I gotta do the fletching on his arrows, and then he'll be all set. Is that like a? I guess it's like a programming thing. I mean, but 10 hours of work, regardless, that's a really long day. Oh, okay, I gotcha. Yeah, I did. Wasn't quite as intense, but I did some data entry at one point for a library, and that was nowhere near as many hours. But even then, it was like really mind numbing. I mean, just inputting data, reviewing it, making sure everything was correct. Gotta get another base out. Glue this guy too. I think I'm trying to get jobs like that before, and I guess I don't have the right stuff on my CV. Uh, but like doing that kind of book cataloging stuff. Yeah, yeah, I can imagine that gets really tiring. It's also frustrating when you're in kind of jobs like that, and like I guess eventually you get to a point where like you feel like your mind just doesn't have any can't do anything else other than get home and like watch television or something. Which can be good. I mean, actually, I think a little bit of TV isn't that bad for you, just to help your mind kind of decompress from stuff like that. Put on a put on a movie or something, or put on a TV show and just kind of relax. And okay, that makes sense. Telemachus, yeah, okay, yeah, because my problem is I don't have like an actual MLS, but I learned how to do all that stuff at one point and earlier in my graduate school. Um, cataloging and like Library of Congress, doing like identifiers, doing finding aids, stuff like that. But so I kind of got like some of the library school training, but just not the degree. Um, but now it makes sense that you say it's like a ALA grant requirement. That sounds pretty silly uh, and frustrating. All right, got another guy done. Hmm. Okay, well, I think I'll wrap it up for the evening. I've got two more to do, so let's see. I'm gonna check if I can fit all these guys on one stand the way I've got it based up now. Yeah, okay, they'll fit. If I just get a little creative with the way they're positioned. Yeah, that'll be all right. Yeah, I think it did pretty well tonight. All right, I think I'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks for hanging out, Telemachus. It was a good stream. Covered a lot of ground and did a lot of painting. So thanks for hanging out and have a good evening. And hope you have a good day of work tomorrow. All right.